Kane, it's 1-0. We're fucking down. 13th in the championship. The takeover happened as I said it would. People will be. Oh, when have we got Leeds? Now then, people, good evening and welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show, and it's time for your live big match preview, coming to you all the time the evening before the game. Of course, Leeds United kick off tomorrow night away at the New York Stadium against Rotherham. Yorkshire derby, although there's not much rivalry there, but we are still in the same, I was going to say continent then. I mean, we are in the same, we are in the same continent.
In the Giant Stadium. Really?
Yes, we're going to be playing Rotherham. As you can see, no Lockie tonight. Lockie's busy with uni. I wish that uni had fuck off because I'm missing Lockie, to be fair. But he's got to do his his
education, shall we?
Yeah, forget it, man. Who needs education? No, big up to Lockie. Cheers with us, of course, Andrea, and the returning Lloyd. Lloyd, you've been missing for a while. How's things in the cupboard under the stairs?
Yeah, it's literally in a cupboard under the stairs. Yeah, it's good, mate. Yeah, I've got a little one on the way, so it's been a busy couple of months, and I've been relegated to under the stairs now. So Harry Potter. Harry Potter. That's it. It is. Great stuff. Will says, "What's Lockie doing at uni?" He's actually doing football analytics, and he's basically a football man. So, in a couple of years when he's coaching somewhere, we can go, Lockie, reach out to that player and see if he'll come on my pod, will you? And be like, I'll sort it out, Joe. Don't worry. Let's good. Someone says, look at this fine lineup of facial hair. I've just noticed, we've all got a decent...
Till the end of the month, lads. I look like a Neanderthal, but till the end of the month.
Do you know what I love the most about yours, Andrea? Right?
What?
Is it comes down here, but then it goes in. There's like a little dip here. I don't know why, but you've got like a W.
I deleted it, but it's like it's Look,
I don't know.
I don't know why. Actually, I don't know why.
No, it's mad, isn't it? Let's go around the houses then and check in with everyone. Joe, how's things with you, mate? Have you enjoyed the international break?
No,
Ireland won again, didn't they? Though, didn't you win?
No, they drew again.
Denmark.
No, they drew a game with New Zealand in a friendly.
Entertaining draw.
It really wasn't. The stadium was empty for Stephen Kenny's last game. Literally 26,000 people in a 60,000 seat stadium turned up.
Really?
I'm glad it's over, Joe. I hate the international break mostly because Ireland are trash. Right now, good group of young players, rudderless at the front, but the manager's been let go now, so we'll see what happens. But I'm glad real football is back, and I've missed talking about Leeds properly and waiting and trying to fill 2 weeks of content when there's just nothing going on. I'm glad we're back.
It's brutal, but we got through it. Like you say. We are back. Yes, Andrea Van Miyagi. How are you, brother?
Good. We qualified finally for the Euros, so that's
under very dubious circumstances.
That's definitely not coming out in the press in about 5 years' time.
with a clear penalty not given to Ukraine. I have to say that absolutely it was a penalty. We should have went to the playoff and they should have gone through.
Match fixing never happened in Italy, though, has it?
No,
actually, the referee was bad all game long, but that call was unfair to Ukraine. It wasn't us; it was the referee. It wasn't us. It was the referee.
Diplomatic answer there, Andrea.
At least we're there, at least Spalletti will have the time to work with the team because he had basically very little time to work with the team after Mancini left for Saudi Arabia, So now we'll work with this young squad. We don't have much opportunity to win again, probably. But magic happened once actually, Joe, in 2021. With a miracle, we won the Euros because you've seen after that team was really average. And now, I'm happy that we're back talking with Leeds. But I tweeted too because we were talking about Ireland that I have this feeling that they may go for Jesse Marsh, with their next.
I nearly fell out with you this morning when I saw that.
I'd love nothing more than that. That would be hilarious. Yeah, not for the just
for us at all.
Yeah,
Terrible.
sorry, yeah. So yeah, it wouldn't be fair actually on the Irish show. I apologise. Lloyd, how's things with you, mate? Nice Rafinha signed shirt there behind you.
Yeah, I thought opportunity to get that out. Yeah, like Joe, I'm just happy the international break's done and dusted. Honestly, I just cannot stand it. Like, I've done a video and people were like, "Oh, so you hate all these English players?" Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. And when it comes to like the World Cup and Euros, I do get into it.
Yeah,
but,
same.
But you never win, lads.
What's that?
You wait to the Euros this time. It's happening.
I don't know, mate. I don't know, mate.
Really?
France and Portugal are ahead of you for me right now.
No, they're not, man.
Portugal, I wouldn't tempt fate with it. The last time England won a tournament, we haven't stopped hearing about it. So don't tempt fate and push that button. You say they won't win it, they'll win the next one, and then the next 60 years is all we're going to hear about. So
no, because then we'll win the World Cup after. Don't worry about it.
New song, 60 years of art. Never stop me dreaming.
Every 4 years. How many years?
Let's move on from international football anyway. Before we get into the preview, though, we've got a few discussion points. We're going to talk about Patrick Bamford. Obviously, Patrick Bamford caused a bit of a stir. Some will say it was why he getting chewed over it, is what it is. Others will say it was unnecessary at the time right now with the situation that you're in. If you haven't seen the clip, basically, Patrick Bamford was talking about his time under Big Sam, said on a podcast, My Best Friend's a Footballer or something for the BBC, said they played against Man City. Big Sam had come in and, said they're really poor defensively, which we were. That needs to improve. He had a poor game against City and he said, don't ever play for me like that again. At which point Patrick was a bit like, well, we already knew that. You know what I mean? Like, listen, it's not even that. I just think for me, my gripe with it is, I don't think you should be laughing and joking while you still play at the football club. I'm not saying Patrick can't have a life, right? My thing was, you're laughing and joking about a time that saw us get relegated from the Premier League. Maybe years down the line, you might chat about it. I don't know. That was just my gripe. But also, the other scenario is it's coming from a player that doesn't have favour with the fans, that is disliked, not by me. I don't dislike the guy, but there are large sections of the fans that actually dislike him as a person, like can't stand him. Like, you see it, whether or not that's real and it's just social media hype or whatever, but these people exist. I can't wait to see this guy gone. Oh, he's crap. Or, get him to League Two or whatever, right? So if you have that relationship with a fan base already fractured, is it in the best interests of you to be putting yourself out there? So for me, it's like, if you've got, I don't know, these celebrities and stars, right, would have like a media advisor, right? You go through and say, so-and-so's asked me to do an interview. Don't do that interview. So-and-so's asked me to do this interview. Yes, do that interview. Do you know what I mean? There has to be, we know the club, there's normally a thing that says, do you know what? Don't put that out. I know for a fact, actually, that the Leeds United podcast last season did an excellent interview with Calvin Phillips. The week after, we were spanked. I don't know who against. And that interview never saw the light of day. I spoke to someone who did that interview and the club said, you're not putting it out. And he was disappointed. The person who did the interview said, I'd have loved it to go on out, etc. But they said at that time, getting spanked, it's not a place. So that's a decision that was made. So I just think it just didn't need to be said. And that's why I put it out. I then deleted my tweet because you get loads of stick, which is fair enough. Like, people are entitled to their opinion, and I couldn't be arsed with the stick, so I just deleted it and went about my day. But yeah, I just wanted to, Andrea, I'm going to come to you because I know you tweeted out about it and got into a few, would we say debates?
Explanations.
Maybe?
No,
you were trying to
clarifications.
Explain. Yeah, because people read something and take what they want from it and don't actually see what you've written. You know
exactly. I mean? I'm just gonna read it because it's pretty clear to me. After what you said, I said I get it's a podcast, and podcasts are made by anecdotes because anecdotes are what makes podcasts good. When we talk about anecdotes, when we did the history series, for example, it's good to talk about personal insights. But relegation, the toxicity, and the mess of last season are still fresh. Not the right moment yet for me. On a communication point of view, it easily can cause backlash towards the player, exactly what he doesn't need now, because we need to look at the whole picture. Of course, he made on his performances some mistakes last season, mainly, Newcastle, Leicester, and this season, there's also been occasions where he was subject to harsh criticism, who got over the line many times, like last season, people often tend to go over the line with Bamford. I don't know why. Often, like you said, there's people who actually dislike him. I like the person. I think he's a smart guy.
Same.
He's a good person. He's, very well educated also when he comes across, because he's also
That's part of the problem, Andrea.
Yeah, it's part of the problem too.
Football's a class system, and because he's from money, I feel that's why there's a bit.
Yeah, and people say he's related with Lord Bamford. I think is relative. The one in.
Well, they own JCB, don't they? I think his family.
Yeah, but he's not related with him, so they say he's a Tory and all of that. But judge him on the performances on the pitch. So often he got over the line last season, and it was really harsh, So right now he was injured. He didn't have the time to get back to form. He didn't have time to find back his confidence. He missed that penalty at Stoke, and after he missed that penalty, I said we still need to support him because there were people saying the Bamford season is over. In October is over. October is over. It's always over the line. It's always too much with Bamford, So on a communication point of view, considering the situation, people try to scrutinize and analyze everything that Bamford does on the pitch. Even in the preseason, when he celebrated against Forest like this, it was against the Forest fans because he received some stick, from the stands, because he played for Derby probably, and for that, but he was a product of the Forest Academy, and people said he's against the Leeds fans. No, he was against the Forest fans, but people try to see everything against Bamford. I don't know why, honestly, and exactly why I said this is not what he needs now, because people look at everything to try to get at him, and if he has a bad performance, those same people who actually get over the line every time with him online will do exactly that and say you're more focused on that. You're laughing during referencing to relegation and all of that. So there's timing, And I said that based on a personal experience because when I was at Reggiana, we had some players after we win a game putting some taunting on social media, and we considered that at the time. I work, of course, in the communication department of the club. We considered that. Because they weren't playing well at the time and they received some stick, some criticism for the fans, harsh criticism, very harsh. We consider that not appropriate in that time. Like you said, there's time where you don't put things out like that interview, rightly so, because he wouldn't have got the attention he should have deserved, the one against Calvin, about Calvin Phillips. People will have said, you're putting out interviews when we were, smashed the day before. Yeah. So it's not good content because it don't get the right attention after that defeat. And with those players, they were harshly criticized. So we said, don't put those things out now. Delete that, and they delete that. After 7 days, we bring in the Derby, the biggest game of the season, and we lost. And the fans who saw that online, they went to them and said, "You're more focused on the side of the page. So you shouldn't have done that," And they got harsh criticism. So when I texted that, I said that based on a personal experience I had. Because right now, I want Bamford to be supported by the club. I want Bamford to be backed by the club. Because look at right now, Rutter is a doubt for tomorrow. Yeah. Is a doubt. The only proper number 9 we have, because Piro is playing the 10, is Bamford in the club. So we'll need him in the season because he's the only natural number 9 we have right now, and he often gets too much. It's like always people always focus on him. Even when we win, I saw people when we won at home in the last games criticizing Bamford for 10 minutes, because he looked like he didn't care. What? just focus on the whole performance. You know, he played 10 minutes. You know, he's trying to get back to his form. Of course, if he doesn't play well, criticize him. Or you can, you know, but play based on his player performance, you know, not on the person. What does the person, Patrick Bamford, has to do with the Patrick Bamford footballer? You know, criticize him if you want, based on his performances, not on other things, you know. And that's why I said, maybe, you know, if the situation around with him and a part of the fan base was different, that was proper, you know, because the podcast actually is great. You get an insight, it's entertaining, it's interesting, and you get an insight from a footballer still playing, you know. But Ben Foster used to get the same comments, you know, when he was playing with Wrexham and Watford, you know, at the time. So there's an issue, you know, when, like, I agree with you, you know, when you talk about the current club right now that can bring criticism and harsh, you know, comments online when you're still playing and doing that, like Crouch and other players are doing that when they retire, you know. So I said that because I think that if he doesn't play well, and I think he will get better because he's still trying to find back his form. If he doesn't play well as a bad performance, people will go back to that, like they did in the past at Nottingham and Stoke, you know, and use that against him, and that's not fair, you know, because it's a personal point. So just criticize him again for his performances if he plays badly, and praise him if he plays good. But there's people just every time crossing the line, and I think it's not fair. That's why I said that, you know, on a communication point, it was not the right timing for me.
Yeah,
on a media point.
So it's what Joe said. He's put himself in the firing line when he's got like nothing behind him. Like if he'd have scored 4 or 5 goals this season, he scored that penalty against Stoke and won us the game, then people might see that interview and see it a bit differently. But he's sort of got no credit in the bank to be able to come out and laugh and joke in this situation. And
Lloyd, if he puts a stinker out tomorrow night, right?
I think that could be it for him completely.
Well, he's just going to go, stick to your fucking podcast. This is it. This is what I'm saying about the timing and everything. I mean, the BBC.
It's that.
Yeah, the BBC, don't go to bed just yet, basically echoed what we said, that the timing was wrong, didn't need to be done. And it just, Joe, do you have any thoughts on the whole situation?
I think it's an uncomfortable situation. I think it needs to be broken down to different factors as well. You've got a player who's in his 30s now, who's clearly planning the next stage of his career beyond football. You've seen it with you know, some players that will go on and do media work and with Sky Sports, or will go into LUTV or get involved in that kind of stuff, and they start to move into media work. So clearly Paddy's putting himself down the podcast route. From as a general podcast and listening to him speak on a podcast, I actually quite enjoyed listening to him talking. I think he's got a good way about getting information across. I think he's very clear in what he says. It's actually, as to Andrea's point, it's actually quite entertaining at points. I actually quite like what I saw of Bamford's personality coming out in it a bit. You know, we've seen a player since the start of this season who hasn't looked right in a Leeds shirt, who has looked out of place. I mean, my partner Jess says it all the time when she sees him on the pitch now. He just doesn't look like he fits there anymore. He doesn't look like he's happy when he's on the pitch at Leeds. And I think, again, to the point that has been made, this needs to be compartmentalized a little bit. And I think maybe Bamford's one of those players who can compartmentalize things. I played with players, and I've gotten to punch-ups in dressing rooms with players over results. When I've walked into the dressing room, I take it very seriously. I get very annoyed. And then I remember years and years and years ago, there was 2 lads that were just laughing and joking in the corner, and I flipped, lost it. And I was like, I can't believe we're laughing and joking and getting battered. You know, where's the pride? And we ended up in a punch up in the middle of the dressing room. Like, it just kicked off. The emotions are running high at that point. Bamford seems to me as a person who can compartmentalize things. That happened. It's now behind. I can't change that. So I will move on for it. I also don't necessarily think he was laughing at Leeds relegation. I think he was laughing at Sam Allardyce. And to be honest with you, when I looked at that, that was such a mess at that time when he came in, when Javi was let go and he came in. If you're a player in that dressing room, you either laugh at that situation or you cry at that situation, because it's a joke in that situation, you know. And the same people that are criticizing are some, not all, are some of the same people who actually were excited about Sam Allardyce coming in and were celebrating Sam Allardyce coming into Leeds last year. And there was a number of people online that were very vocal about Allardyce coming in. And it was a joke because it went so far, and we talked about it. It went so far away from what Leeds was trying to do in terms of building an ethos and building a style that was Leeds, to go to Sam Allardyce. And again, I think the comment that Allardyce makes to Bamford is probably tongue in cheek of don't play that badly again for me. You know, you're not going to say that deadly serious. It's going to be done with a bit of a wry grin on your face. Bamford's laughing at that as well. So I do agree with what Lloyd said. He makes a lightning rod for his own back. Again, going back to the Nottingham Forest game that Andrea referenced, fair enough he's doing this to the Nottingham Forest fans, but it's right beside the Leeds fans. And at that moment, the last thing he needed to do was something stupid like cup his ear to the crowd, regardless of which section of the fan base it was going to be seen.
Yeah. Can't help himself, bro.
Yeah, it could be misinterpreted because of the place he did when he did that right in front of the.
And he's got form for doing it, though. He's got form for doing it to Leeds fans.
2 years ago as well, he did it as well. So he did it against us with Borough, when he scored a hat-trick against us. He did say, he's got it. There's a thing there, but if you're going to do that, if you're going to be like that, and it's okay to be cocky like that, it's okay to be that kind of smug. It's shithousing at a prime level. Clicked it.
If you're going to tuck your penalty in the bottom corner away to Stoke,
exactly. That is exactly the point. I was going to say, Click's done it for years, and we love him for it because he produced on the park.
Yeah.
If you're going to criticize Patrick Bamford, I'll be really clear where I stand on this. I don't care what footed player you are. I don't care what position you play in. I don't care what country you come from. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what gender you are. And I don't care what sexuality you are. I care about what you do in the 90 minutes when you're on the park for Leeds United. You put everything in that, and I don't care about anything else. I will criticize you based on the 90 minutes that you put in for Leeds United. And that's what the criticism should be. I don't care if he comes from money. I don't care about his background. It's irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. If people want to make it about classes or tops versus or Tories versus whatever, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what way you vote. Doesn't matter if you vote for the Communist Party. It doesn't matter, because as long as you go in and put a few balls in the back of the net for Leeds, that's all that matters. And the criticism on Pat Bamford should be related to what is on the park and what happens on the park about his performances, not his family, not his personality, not his life, not his class, not his because it doesn't matter what class Pat Bamford comes from. Every single player in that Leeds United squad is already a millionaire. So they're already classes above the rest of us as it is. So it really is irrelevant. But when he puts himself in a position in a podcast like that, be careful what you say. Just be a bit more self-aware. I think it's probably a little bit of a storm in a teacup, but I think in the situation that he's in, as Lloyd and you've already said, if he doesn't put in a shift tomorrow night, that's what's going to be the talking point. Exactly. So I think when you're in these moments, maybe err on the smarter side of things. Maybe don't launch your podcast this week. I did the interview with Michael Scubala, and Leeds told me there was 2 questions I had to take out with the interview that I did. I couldn't talk about those 2 things.
Yeah, it's also media training, also understanding the moment we're in. Not that as a collective, but also as an individual player too. And right now we're doing well as a team, but there's still a large part, like just said, of the fan base who isn't seeing Bamford in favor, of course, because of his performances.
We still have a hangover from the last 2 years, and especially last year. And I think when you start talking about relegation the way that he did, it can come across exactly as everyone has perceived it. And perception sometimes can become reality, even if it's not.
Whose fault is it that we're having this discourse now?
I'm surprised, Joe. I mean, I would have assumed, I don't know this for a fact, I would have assumed that interview would have had to have gone through the PR team in Leeds before it was agreed.
Exactly.
And I'm surprised that it was released. And the problem with podcasts and with shows like this as well, we all know it, it's clippable. You say one thing out of when you get a bit more relaxed on it and you start to have a bit more fun with your mate, all of a sudden the barriers start to come down and you start to talk a bit more openly and you can say things.
Listen, the mad thing is, right? Adam Pope and Johnny Buchan work for the BBC. Yeah. Lewis works for the BBC. The tweet came from the BBC, right?
Yeah.
It's a BBC podcast.
BBC Sounds, yeah.
Yeah. Mm. The tweet came from BBC Sport. It was clipped up by BBC Sport. Don't go to bed just yet. And then speaking about that very video, saying he shouldn't have said it.
Mm.
Yeah.
They created that. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I don't disagree. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Do you know what I mean? No, and then when you
because one is national and the other one is regional, I think. So
when I found when I was
still they are the same company.
But yeah, when I was doing the Scoobs thing, I found the Leeds PR team actually pretty easy to deal with. They explained to me why the 2 questions couldn't be used, and I said, just for future reference, is there any reason why I can't ask these questions? And they explained to me how it could be perceived in the media if these questions were public. And straight away, I was like, yeah, that's completely fair. I understand you've got to protect the club and you've got to protect the players. Exactly. So that made sense to me. Seeing that not removed from Bamford's one does the opposite. It puts pressure on the club, puts pressure on Bamford, and I'm surprised that that's been allowed to go out unless it's gone out without the club's knowledge. And then maybe he's in for some issues in the club, but I don't think he will be. And on the conversation from playing tomorrow, I'd much rather see Mateo Joseph start up front and us plan for the future rather than the past.
You know, El James. Do you know what it is? I don't even want Mateo Joseph. I'm not saying I don't want to see him, but I'd rather see Somerville go central and Jadon Anthony on the left. But we will talk about that a little bit later on. Gary says, big night for me tomorrow. Leeds game, easy win, then followed by a FIFA night. Tenner ahead, winner takes all. There is 10 of us playing. Nice. Good luck. Good luck. They'll probably be fighting in that, no doubt. Matt says, in comparison, look at Cooper's Sky interview. That's how you go about business. I mean, that was a joy to behold.
One was done in the club and one wasn't. Like Cooper's was filmed in Thorpe Arch, where Bamford was filmed in his gaff. You know. Yeah,
no, that is true. Another thing I want to chat about, actually, because I wanted to get your thoughts, and you may not have seen it, but obviously I was on the debrief the other night, and me and Gabe. Me and Gabe had a bit of a back and forth on Ilan Meslier. People say he beat me. I mean, I'm not even interested in who beat me. I just wanted to get your folks' opinion on Gabe's or other fans' thoughts, actually, because there was a hell of a lot. Because I checked the comments and I was quite surprised at the amount of people that did want Meslier to be replaced and did want to see him leave the club. And I just wanted to get your thoughts, opinions on it, because Shripper brought it up. So I just thought, we'll do that before we get into Rotherham. We've discussed Bamford. Lloyd, what are your thoughts on Meslier? Does he need to be replaced?
So going back to pre-season, when you start seeing rumours that he's saying he wants to be Chelsea's number one. Do you remember that sort of period? Yeah. I was sort of looking at him thinking, I'm sort of done with you. Because prior to that, I really liked Meslier, and I still do now. And I just think this season, I think he's had a solid season. And okay, he hasn't made loads of good saves, but we've got the ball for 65-70% of the game. So, he hasn't got all that much to do. And I feel like, other than his mistake the other week, when he's been called upon, I think he's done a good job. His age is on his side, and I think he's growing in confidence. So, yeah, if we get promoted, or I hope he's our number one for years to come, Meslier. I really do.
Joe, I feel that Joe might have an opposing view. So let me go to Andrea first.
I don't.
He's shaking his head. Go on then, Joe. Take it away.
I think my take on Meslier has been the same for the last couple of years. I think there's a very good goalkeeper in there, and he's 22 years of age. And I think we are a very polarizing fan base where either you're in and you're the best thing, or you're in the bin. There's no middle ground there at all. I think we put a huge amount of pressure on young players to be brilliant like that. And I think young players develop at different stages. They peak at different times. Meslier is years away from his peak. He's probably 10 years away from even getting close to his peak. And I would hate to be the club that lets him go and then has to look at him in 6-7 years time and realize one of the best goalkeepers in the country. If you to Gabe's point, if you look at the stats, he's in the bottom 6 of shots faced versus goals in now. But I think there's more context to this, and we had this argument last year. Leeds United have conceded sloppy goals to poor sides this year. We let goals in against Huddersfield. We've let goals in against Plymouth. We have let poor sides score sloppy goals because of lack of concentration. Our defence has to be better. Last year, Meslier faced more shots than any other goalkeeper in the league. Therefore, he is going to concede more goals on average. It's just a fact. That's the way it works. A good defence is put there to protect their goalkeeper. Anyone who thinks the defence is not there to stop the ball going into the back of the net or getting near the goalkeeper doesn't know football. That is the defender's job. Protect your goalkeeper. If a shot is taken on your goalkeeper, make sure you turn and get to your goalkeeper and be the first person standing over him in case that ball is spilt. That is the job of the defenders. Stop the ball, protect the keeper. And we didn't do a good enough job of that over the last 2 years. That's not Meslier's fault. It's not even necessarily the back four's fault. It's the strange systems we played under 4 different managers last season. This season, he's looked an awful lot better because the defense in front of him has been far more structured. You've got 2 players that will sit in and protect them when the fullbacks get on. It's all better. We've still conceded moments where he's been exposed. But I think when you look at it, it came down to big moments. And if your goalkeeper's protected and he doesn't have to do work throughout the whole 90 minutes, then they can be tuned in and focused for the moments that really matter in a game. You take that shot against Leicester, it's 1 shot on target. It's a massive moment. If he wasn't sharp and if he wasn't a decent keeper with good reflexes, he doesn't save that. It's a fantastic save in that game, and he's made a couple of good saves. Go back to the first year in the Premier League as well, a second year in the Premier League, he haunted Erling Haaland. Every time Haaland went through one-on-one with him, he stopped him. His one-on-one stats were fantastic. So there's clearly a very good goalkeeper in there. Does he make mistakes? He does. Yeah, he does, because he's 22 years of age. And guess what? He's probably going to make a few more now, but in the next couple of years before he's fully rounded. But we looked to bring in a goalkeeper, and modern goalkeepers are strange. We brought in a goalkeeper because of his ball playing ability. He was dropped by Allardyce because Allardyce doesn't play out from the back.
Yeah.
So he didn't fit that. So we brought in a ball playing goalkeeper. There is a trade-off with that. If you're getting that from a goalkeeper, you're going to miss something else. And that could be his handling from crosses, could be coming and commanding his box. It could be his vocal attributes in the goal. I think this year he's far more vocal than he has been in previous years. He's looked like he's commanding. He's come out beyond the centre-backs more often with the ball even sometimes coming out. But there is a trade-off. You look at Alisson and you look at Ederson at Man City and Liverpool, two of the best goalkeepers in the world on paper. Rarely ever face a shot. I mean, to the point where Manchester City can play midfielders in defence because they just don't defend. So they don't concede as many shots or opportunities. So therefore, they concede a hell of a lot less goals, and they make the big saves when they're needed to. But they still make mistakes. I mean, at Manchester United, he's made very high-profile mistakes. Spent a lot of money on him. So this isn't 10, 15 years ago where your goalkeeper's job was to catch the ball, hold it, and kick up the park. They have an awful lot more to do now. So there's trade-offs. I think Meslier is a good goalkeeper for the standard that he is at. If you look at the Championship, I think he's a very good goalkeeper for the level that he's at. Will he be good enough next season when we go up? That will be a question that has to be looked at. But I think over the next 5-10 years, you're going to see a really, really good goalkeeper come out there. And I will be, I would be kicking myself if we pushed him out of the club really quickly, only to see him turn into the goalkeeper we think he's going to be.
Yeah, I think I agree with all your points, mate. And I think the main thing is the point I want to say, because I keep seeing this getting thrown at him. I think the saying is there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
And my point I'm making is people are saying he's not commanding he doesn't command his box. He doesn't collect crosses in the air, but he punches the ball now. That is something that I have seen. It's exactly mate. And do you know what?
This year specifically, Joe, and he's got a new goalkeeping coach this year as well, which is a big thing as well.
Exactly.
If people are going to criticize Marcus Abad as a goalkeeping coach, just bear in mind he's been coaching your goalkeeper for the last 4 years.
Yeah. I'm not doing that. But what I'm saying, maybe Meslier isn't good at catching, so the coach has said to him, "Punch it then." And he's improving. On that now. Yeah, while Gabe was looking at the stats, Meslier was far and away the top goalkeeper in the league for punches. So that shows me that that's something he's been asked to do. Because he's commanding his area from crosses. But people, I think, if you don't catch it, then he's flappy. And I'm like, no, he's not. He's punching the ball. And 9 times out of 10, he's fucking going miles.
Yeah. 99% of goalkeepers punch the ball. Yeah. What goalkeepers catch the ball anymore? None of them do.
No, exactly. Andre, do you just want to wade in before we move on to Rotherham? Thoughts on Mes?
I agree with the lads. And you talk about stats, Gabe talking about stats. If you go and look at the most valuable goalkeeper in the league is Meslier. According to Transfermarkt, if you go and check all the goalkeepers, the top valuable one is Meslier, then there's Bazunu, Patterson, and Munson. There's other keepers, like Bachmann, Johannesson. And Bazunu is good, but I think he's below Meslier for me.
Shotstop's not great.
You don't think he's great, yeah?
I think he's a decent keeper, but I think is probably one of his weakest attributes is shot stopping in the corners. He gets beaten quite easily in the corners, and the ball's put in there. So Bazunu is by a mile not the finished article either. But again, he's a very young goalkeeper as well. But I think Meslier is a better keeper.
Yeah, he's a better keeper, and I think he's the best in the league. And I agree with Joe. There's a question that needs to be asked.
I've been hammered for saying he's the best in the league, by the way.
But look at the other keepers, Bazunu, Patterson, Hermansen, Woodman.
Exactly.
You can't talk about a goalkeeper in isolation because, if Glenn Kamara makes a balls of it in the middle of the park, he's got Ampadu and a back 4 to clean up before it even gets to the goalkeeper. If Pirro loses the ball sloppily in possession, he's got the back 2, a 10, and probably Jorginho around him, and then the back 4 and the goalkeeper to make it up. If Meslier makes a mistake, it's a goal. There's no safety net for him. So to look at it in isolation isn't fair. You've got to look at your goalkeeper as part of a back 5. You got to look at your 4 defenders in front of them, your goalkeeper, and go, as a defensive unit, do they do a good enough job? And the answer has been no. But I don't blame. I mean, look at some of the goals he's conceded. He's been so exposed at times where it's not been in his favor. I'd like to see him get better penalty saves, to be honest with you. And I would criticize him over his position on free kicks. I think he positions himself always too far away and leaves corners open. But that's because he's a young goalkeeper and he'll get better at those things as he gets older. But in most clubs, in most top clubs and in most seasons, you wouldn't have a keeper 22 years of age being your number 1 goalkeeper. He'd be your backup, and you'd have a 31-year-old in nets, with loads of experience. But we don't.
Yeah, it's a keeper improving now. I think he was falling in terms of his confidence and shot stopping last season. But right now, he's a keeper on the rise. Probably also the goalkeeping coach change has brought new perspective to him because he punches the ball, he comes out for the ball for crosses. He's also talking. He's talking. He's also improving with the distribution, not still at his top, but he's improving in that with the short passes. The long passes still need work to do, but he's improving, So I think there's not a valid motive right now to sell him or don't give him a chance as the starting goalkeeper next season if we go up. But of course,
do you think we'd sign Darlow to be number one, and it just turns out Meslier's impressed Farker, or do you think he was always meant to be backup?
I think they expected him to leave because they expected offers to come for him. I think Lloyd, but they didn't come. So
the club turned down a £20 million offer apparently for him.
Oh, okay.
During the summer, but apparently he didn't look for a move during the summer. He never asked, never pushed for a move. There's players in that club that they went on strike are getting less stick than Meslier is getting right now. And he didn't leave.
Yeah, he didn't leave. But we started the Stars window with him linked with the interview about Chelsea, and all of that. So there was an expectation probably because.
But that was taken out of context as well, Andre, because the
it was taken out of context.
He said, would you go to Chelsea? He said not to sit on the bench, was what he said.
No, exactly. And then it's he wants to move to Chelsea, and it's like,
I know. But as they were asking him if will he move to Chelsea, of course, he was still rated at least abroad. Then everything changed for me after the under 21 Euros because he didn't start a game for France there. So maybe
can I just come in? Glenn.
Yeah. Cheers, Glenn. That's constructive, mate.
No, but let me just say that right. So Glenn, give us some examples of Premier League goalkeepers that are now catching the ball. And then we'll have a conversation. Because clearly you're
and also a goalkeeper's job is not just to catch a ball or a goal. It's to play out from the back. It's to be able to sweep. It's to be able to read the game, talk to defenders. It's to be able to command his box. It's to be able to punch and catch. So thanks, Glenn. Appreciate that.
I go as far as saying that Lev Yashin didn't stop the ball, but he was punching the ball in the 60s.
Well, there you go. And did he not win a Ballon d'Or?
Yeah, it was probably the OG goalkeeper at the time. You have to defend the goal. When you're defending the goal and you're doing well, I think we don't need to look at.
It's like the guy who did it. It's like the guy who did the scorpion kick, and they went, "What are you doing that for? Why don't you catch it?" Agita, What are you doing using your feet? Catch it!
You know his flag had gone up and the goal wouldn't have counted anyway.
You know his nickname. He shared a nickname with a man we know very much, El Loco.
Oh, did he? Well, I'm not surprised doing stuff like that. Honestly, it's mad. It's mad. Right, let's talk about Rotherham then. We've already done 38 minutes, lads, on just the general consensus. General chat on Leeds United, sorry, should I say. Let's talk about Rotherham. So we had the press conference on Wednesday, and I'm making my notes, and it was like, oh man, yes, everyone's back to full fitness. And then we were hit with the bombshell that Rutter's got abdominal pain, and he said he was a major doubt. We don't know if that's a little bit of maybe he will make it, because he didn't 100% rule him out. He just said a major doubt. So what's your Lloyd? I'll come to you, buddy. There's too many questions. I can't go, does Ampadu play? Does such and such play? Just off the top of your head, what are you expecting lineup wise? Where tomorrow, who do you think's going to make it? Because obviously the Welsh boys only came back Thursday, light training today, if even that. Nonto came back same, light training. So with many issues. Stroud, Byron. What's the thoughts?
I think because Jorginho's injured, so that's one change we've got to make. It looks like Spence could come back because, since he's been injured, no one's nailed down that position. We've had Ayling there, Gray's played there, Shax has played there. So I think Spence will come straight back into that position. And I think because of the fact that we're changing a lot, I think we'll just try and keep the rest as similar as we can to previous weeks. We heard Byron could be back, which was a bit of a surprise, and Strout. But for me, I don't think Strout comes straight back in. I think he might have another week or two. Yeah. But I think the back four will be Byram, Cooper, Roden, and Spence. And now the big question is Bamford. or do we put Perot there? There's options, which is nice for a start. Like normally when we've had injuries, we're like calling upon the kids. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I think he'll try and keep it as the same as previous weeks as he can. And I actually think Bamford will start up front with Perot in the 10 still.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's got to change. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think he'll want to change too much.
Yeah,
I think Stoke might have scared him a little bit, seeing the amount of changes he made, because he hasn't really been making any changes since then. I think he's very likely to go with the exact same team, or if he has to make a change, it's what one change can I make that's going to make the minimum amount of disruption for the rest of the team. Like, you're not going to see Byram going to right back and Fred becoming a left back because that's 2 changes for one position. I think you've got a possibility of seeing Jamie Shackleton maybe playing right back, or an Archie Gray moving into the middle of the park, because Gray came back early from international duty because of an agreement in place. Shacks is back fit, but I still think you'd probably go with Gray, Rodon and Cooper across the back, and Byram will pass the late fitness test and will be okay, and he'll go in the left back. Midfield will be the same, and then the question mark is what happens up front. And again, to Lloyd's point, I think he just puts Bamford in there because it's one change and that makes it's minimum disruption. But I'd love to see him push Pero on and put Nanto in the 10, or put Nanto in the 9 and leave Pero in the 9. I'd love to see that happen there. But again, I'd be very excited to see Mateo Joseph get a start in one of these games when he's surrounded by the good players that Leeds having to create, because I think he's a natural finisher, and I'd like to see, can he do it now? I think if you're playing against Rotherham, who've conceded the most amount of goals in the division, who have won 1 game in the last 4, who shipped 5 in their last game, who have no manager, I think if you're ever going to look at these players, then that's the one. Because if we do it in an FA Cup game, it's going to be a second string team that he's out there with, so he's with the weaker players. It'd be great to see a player going in there with the stronger ones around him and seeing what he could actually do with the best players on the park. And he does do the pressing, and he does a huge amount of work off the ball. He's in good form right now. He scored for England during the week. He scored for the 21s before he went away. The confidence level is very high on a player like that as well. And young players carry a bit of swagger as well. So it won't happen, but I'd love to see him get a shot. But I do think it'll just be Bamford to go in there, and everything else will be pretty much the same.
I think, and Andre, the positive thing is, and Lloyd touched on it in terms of the numbers.
Yeah.
I'm not too fussed about anyone from midfield forward being injured. Like, the mad thing is, he will be a loss. Of course he will. Rutter's involved in everything we do. But there's bodies to replace him. So I'm not too concerned about Rutter being out, which might sound a bit mad. I don't know what...
Yeah, I think on the term of having a squad depth, I agree. I still think we need at least two signings in January to even deeper that in terms of characteristics we're missing in a certain position, especially the number 10. But, it's a big loss for Rutter because he's basically the pivotal, along with Ampadu, the pivotal player for the squad, because his movement changes everything in terms of the system we played. Because he plays all around, he roams, and he brings always a defender with him. And of course, Bamford and Piro can do that in the way Rutter does that, because they don't have the same pace, they don't have the same body. So either if we play with Piro and Bamford, it'd be similar to 4-4-2 probably, with a 4-4-1-1, with 2 number 9s, with one player in the 10, so staying a little bit behind, like a second striker, Piro, and Bamford playing in the 9. And, I like to see also Gnonto and Piro in the 9, like Jer. But I don't know if Falke fancies trying Gnonto in the number 10.
Cardiff start of season, though, to 9. He was excellent there.
I'll do that too. But, we've seen that sometimes Falke is allergic to do those kind of tactical changes. But I agree with you, Jer. I think it'll be brilliant to see Piro finally in the number 9, his natural position, with Gnonto moving around, because Gnonto can do what Rotter did, in that role. I think Gnonto, if you look at the characteristic and his body type and also his movement, his pace, can try to do that in the number 10. Or either you move Gnonto or Anthony to one side and you play Somerville in the middle, because Somerville in preseason was tried in the number 10 position. That he also tried Geller, for example, in preseason in some games. You need in that position a player moving all around, also moving deeper in midfield, trying to carry the ball, to hold up, to turn around. You need that kind of player. And if you play with both Piro and Bamford, we don't have that kind of player. So it makes sense to me too, like it does to Joe, to play Gnonto or Farmer, for example, in the 10 and play Piro in the number 9. But of course, going back to the start of what Joe said, it's good to see that if Byram isn't fit, for example, you have another player coming in this case, Firpo or Shackleton. And if you have, because we have a lot of players fatigued, Gray's been away with the under-19s of England. Joseph has been away with the under-20s, I think, of England. You had Nyonto with the under-21s. They played in Italy, then in Ireland, and now to England. You had also the Welsh players moving to Armenia, then back to Wales. You have Gruyev with Bulgaria, Kamarov with Finland. We have basically all the squad, all the starting 11, despite minus Byron, for example, and Somerville away. Also Pirot, of course. So there'll be fatigue, and you need to turn over probably to make some changes in the starting 11 based on fitness level and also fatigue, because for example, Armenia is very far, and the Welsh players, they had that long journey, and then they had that big game against Turkey in Cardiff, which they needed to win, and they didn't. So they spent a lot of energy in that game, and so we need to see the level of fitness they have to. So it's good to have a squad. You have other players ready to step in. That's what we missed in the last seasons, in the Premier League. Yeah.
Like Joe was saying, if other teams had a Jorginho missing, it would be awful. But I just feel like at this level, we've got so many big hitters at this level that they
changes the team as well.
Yeah,
changes the style completely. Not having Rutter. So
exactly.
if you're looking at Leeds all season, you're prepping to play that Leeds United. All of a sudden, he's not there. Like Rutter has tackled players on our end line. He's come all the way back beyond his own defense to tackle players. You don't get that from other number 9. So if you're planning on your team, your shape being lined up to play against Rutter, all of a sudden you have a different proposition, because the striker's going to stay up top. He's not going to drop deep. So that means your backline has to probably sit a bit deeper as well and look after that. They can't just push up the park when he's gone. There's a lot of stuff there. I kind of feel for Daniel Farke in this situation, because I'm sure he'd like to give Gruev more minutes and see what he can do in the league. He talks very positively about what he's doing in training. I'm sure he'd like to get Willie Nyonto back into that team. I'm sure he'd like to put Jed Spence in right back. I'm sure he'd like to give Junior Firpo a run at left back and start putting, round squares and round holes. Yeah. But I think the pressure that's there is he has to win every game now. Like we have to win every game. We can't slip up before the other two slip up, and then Southampton breathing down our neck as well. And I think the Southampton game where he did rotate, it might be just sitting in the back of his head of going, I have to make the minimum amount of changes here, because we can't upset the momentum that we've got. I have to win this game. And that kind of rules out some of the younger players like Gelhardt and Joseph as well. But then you go into next season and it's going to be a case of, well, we can't get relegated. We have to win every game to try and stay up. So, well, no, you can't give these players a chance either, because you have to go and win the game. So you can't gamble on things where you can probably do it when you're sitting around mid-table. You can bring players in and out all you want. So I kind of feel for Daniel Farke in that situation of going, well, I'm sure he'd like to make some changes, but at the same time, he's probably a little bit fearful of going, well, after what happened at Stoke, I can't do that in case it happens again.
I'm gonna, there's loads in there. I'm gonna go on, Andre, mate.
No, a quick one about Nyonto. I think also I like to see him starting, honestly, because he came back from injury. He needed to play games. Now he's played basically 3 games in a week, so he has minutes. And when you're back from injury, when you get minutes into your legs, it helps you. So he's now starting to get back to his good level of form. So if there's a game we need to play, is tomorrow, when you need to try to give him a chance. At least if he's not starting,
we might need a player that's going to be able to unpick a defense. And he has. Then he's a lot more upwardly mobile than Bamford or Pirot. In terms of if we're trying to break down a low block, him and Somerville without Rutter can do that combination that Somerville and
close
Rutter
control, low center of gravity, wiry players will get free kicks.
The ball into Nyonto that's popped back off to Somerville and he spins his man. You're not going to get that from Bamford or Pirot, are you? So I do think there's a great shout for that.
Also, the snappiness of Nyonto shooting as well. Like you see how many times it looked like the ball's dropping and he might take a touch, but before you realize that he smashed the ball, like he's got a rocket of a shot on both feet. He's incredibly instinctive about his shooting as well. So between him and Somerville, you'd have 2 players that anytime they drops about a half a yard on the edge of the box, they're hitting that ball like goal. Like
and also there's another talking point for me also that we need to play Nyonto to see at the level he's at, because now it has started here in Italy. You see articles and articles and articles. The orchestrated media campaign has started.
To get him to Italy
Lazio, Lazio, Roma, especially. They're also talking about the possibility of a straight loan from January till the end of till the summer because of the Euros. on one of the two Roman clubs. The paper, of course, is orchestrated from behind, because they're getting this information from somewhere, and you can guess. It's up to you to guess from where they're getting that information. I'm not going to say from
his agent did an interview with Calcio Mercato where he said, we're going to talk to Leeds about January. There's opportunities for the Premier League and he wants to go back there. His agent is killing them. The agent is doing
Tottenham,
so
Lazio,
much
and Roma now.
damage. Yeah,
but it makes no sense
to
to
on loan to Juventus. Like, how are Leeds going to agree to sanction a player for him to go to Juventus on loan? Like, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, also Lazio and Roma, because Lazio, they have 4 players in position, Pedro, Zaccagni, Felipe Anderson, and Isaacson. So it would be the 5th choice. It makes no sense. And Roma have Dybala, Lukaku, Belotti, Abraham is going back.
The only way Gnonto leaves Leeds in January is if he threatens to go on strike again. Then he's done. Then, because Farkas said it, no second chances. Then that's the only way he if the laughing face emojis that he's putting on comment posts that are saying he's leaving are to be interpreted as he's not going anywhere and he's laughing it off, then we'll know very quickly in the next couple of weeks of what the situation is. As soon as you see him drop out of the squad or drop out of training, we know what's going on. So I think his agent is absolutely killing him. I don't know what Willy Gnonto really thinks. And again, until you hear from the player, there's no point in judging the player on it, but his agent needs to shut up because he's doing interviews with Calcio Mercato in Italy out in public saying this stuff. And then Willy's getting the stick on the far end of it and then having to react to it, which isn't fair. His agent is doing him so much more harm than good.
Yeah, for sure.
The funny thing, just the funny thing is that he's talking to a lot of publications, and websites. But in Italian, so he probably thinks that because it's in Italian, we're not reading it. But I read that and I can translate that. But also, there's Google Translate, and I think a lot of you translate that when you research Gnonto on Google. So in 2023, you can translate articles, so the news can get to England. We're not in the Middle Ages where the news arrived to another place probably 3 or 4 months.
Later normally, Andrea, I literally have a translator plug-in on my web browser for reading Italian articles about Leeds players and just clicking translate and reading it out then.
That's the Daily Leeds for you, isn't it? That's the Daily Leeds for you. You've got to be on
Il Leeds Giornaliero. The Daily Leeds.
What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna swing a few names at you and just start or not, yeah. So right back, does Jed Spence start or does he feature off the bench? And if so, then if the answer's no, who starts at right back?
I think Archie starts right back, and I think Spence comes in the second half at some point to give him a couple minutes. Yeah, he's not ready yet. He's only had a week's training under his belt.
Fair. Andrea, do we see Fairport left back, or does Byron make a miraculous recovery?
We see Fairport.
Oh God.
We see Fairport.
I'm really worried, right?
You can't play him in any game. It has to be this one, right?
No, but my thing is though, right? And I was thinking about this the other day. When people say he can deal with it at this level, if I'm Rotherham, I'm saying, right, when you get it in left fullback, you see their left fullback, smash that ball into his channel and let him deal with our winger running onto it, our right back running onto it. Byram deals with that all day. I'm not convinced Fairport does. And this is why when people say he'll be all right at this level, I just don't see it. I can see him getting on a set.
My comment on that, Joe, is he has to be all right. My point on Fredo is he has to be okay at this level, doesn't he? He has to be for his career. He has to be because he's played for Barcelona. He's played for Real Betis. If you can't crack it in the Championship, pal, I think you might be in trouble. So, when he came on the game last week, I put it up on Twitter going, he's got to be good at this level, right? But more kind of, if he's not, then he's done.
Yeah, I think it's another situation to monitor for January too. We see links with the Real Betis in Spain, and honestly, just said, he played for Barca, moved to the Premier League because he was the Premier League. He didn't move to Leeds because he was Leeds. He moved to the Premier League. Let's be clear. He didn't move to Leeds. He moved to the Premier League because he wanted to be in the best league in the world. Right now he finds himself in the Championship. He was rumored for a Spanish Gold Cup when he was at Betis. He won the Euro Under-21s with Spain, so he was right here, and now he's right there. He's also a backup for Sam Byram, what everybody thought he was a backup, and at the start of the season, of course. But we've seen the commitment and what it means to be Leeds, and also a player with a mentality in Byram. You know, even when he was injured, he came back and played when he was not 100%, and he was always put a shift in. You know, even when he returned from injury, Byram. But tomorrow, you know, I don't want to risk him again if he's not fit 100%. He has an hamstring problem, so I'd rather see Firpo this time starting and let Byram heal properly.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Lloyd, do we see Liam Cooper or do we see Pascal Struijk at left centre back? Sorry,
similar to what Andrea just said about Byram. Like, you know, when Struijk got injured, we were, you know, what we were quoted 6 to 8 weeks or something around that. And what was that? 2 weeks ago, 2.5. I just think it's a massive risk if he's just recovered. Say he has recovered, he's just recovered, surely at best case scenario. Yeah. And I just think like Cooper's Cooper, but he's not a bad replacement at this level. So I don't think I think it'd be Cooper and Rodon. I don't think we're going to risk Struijk. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just think it would be if we started Struijk and he got injured and he was out for 2-3 months, it would be, you know.
It's more
I just hearing you sat there, like I'm like, oh god, a left-hand side of Firpo and Cooper against Rotherham. It don't fill me with.
Well, we did concede against Plymouth when the two of them were on the left-hand side, and it was down the left-hand side the goal came from as well. So, but I mean, it's better to have Cooper filling in for Struijk than it is having Cooper filling in with Rodon out of the team, because then the whole thing gets messed up completely. At least with Cooper, and Cooper was okay. He had a few moments early on in the game against Plymouth where Rodon had to dig him out after getting himself in trouble. But then he was okay when the rest of the game went on. Or a couple of tiny little things. But I mean, I think it's more of a. Fracas said in the press conference that he'd be back just after international break. Somebody else put it out that it was 8 or 9 weeks. I think I'd said it can be 3 to 4 weeks depending on how bad it's a sport.
I thought it was 6. I thought it was 6.
I got a lot of stick for saying he'd be back after the international break, and lo and behold, he's back after the international break. Imagine that. So, but again, it's stitching and it's neshing and all the stuff they put in there. That heals pretty quickly, but the muscle's still not going to be 100% healed. They're not going to risk him ripping or tearing anything in there while he's coming back from this and risking the hernia a second time.
So you think Cooper as well?
Yeah, I think Cooper starts. Yeah, and I think it's a smart thing to do.
Yeah, fair. Right. Who replaces Rutter? Because I think the rest stays the same.
Bamford.
So who?
Bamford.
You say Bamford. You say Bamford.
What I want.
Realistically, Bamford. Yeah. Realistically, Bamford.
I think we see Anthony at left, and I think Somerville goes in the 10.
I'd like to see that. Could I be okay with that?
Yeah,
I would rather see that, but I just don't feel like that will happen. But
I don't think he plays him. You know, I don't think he plays him after that penalty miss. I think Farker's ruthless.
The only reason why I don't think he plays is we all assumed when Spence got injured that Ayling would maintain his right back position, and Archie Gray and Jamie Shackleton went in their boat ahead of Ayling when he was on the bench. So all of a sudden he's gone from starting the season with Ayling at right back to now Ayling not even being the second option to play right back after a couple of games. That's the only thing that I'm clinging on to that says maybe perhaps he won't go with the experienced player this time around. He'll leave Bamford out and he'll put Nanto or somebody else in there. As you said, bring Somerville inside, put Anthony in, and then Pirro moves him forward. Again, that's a really good attacking line, and it gives Jayden Anthony something more better to do with more direct players in front of him, and a second chance after the Stoke game, which he probably needs as well. And he hasn't been away in international duty, so he will be pretty fresh and will have worked with the team over the last 2 weeks. So that's a great shout, Joe.
Yeah. But you just don't think it'll happen, and you think it'll be Bamford.
I just think he'll make the minimum amount of changes, and if he brings Bamford in, nothing changes. It's just one player pops in, that's it. But if he does put Pirro in the 9, then Somerville has to come inside. That's 2 moves already, and then you bring another player in there, and that's 3 changes just for one to compensate for one player. And I think most managers will look for the path of least resistance.
You know what? If he plays, for example, let's say like we had Gnonto and Pirro, he keeps Pirro in the 10 and he puts Gnonto in the 9. Trust me.
Do you think?
Yeah, he doesn't move Pirro from the 10 in my opinion. I hope he does, but
really do.
He won't.
For lots of reasons, I hope he does.
Yeah.
Imagine that would be mad, wouldn't it? That would be mad.
He scores twice.
Let's get some score predictions in then as we finish. We've just come to the hour. I'm a little bit nervous about the game, if I'm being totally honest. Just because I think it's a tough place to go. And I know they're down the bottom end of the league, but 10 of their 11 points have all come at home. So if they're going to get any points, it's at home. They drew with Ipswich. I'm sort of glad they haven't got a new manager, because I don't think they're going to get a new manager bounce as such, because the guy that wants the job was basically the coach to the previous manager that got sacked. It's like, Jesse being in and then Chris Armas getting the job. It's like Sam Allardyce being in and then,
back in the business Armas now. Columbus Crew, I think.
Carl Robinson is a slight upgrade on Chris Armas.
Yeah, no, of course he is. I can't lie, but yeah, not for Leeds United. But I think it's going to be tight. I do think we'll win. I think they might score first, but I think it'll be 2-1 Leeds United. That's my prediction. There is method to the madness as well, because the last 4 head-to-heads at the New York Stadium, lads, have been won 2-1 by either them or us. So there you go. We've won the last 4 games though, against Rotherham. Andrea, I'll come to you, mate. Give us your score prediction, pal.
Yeah, you made me remember Kiko Zilla debut at Rotherham in that season. I agree with you. 2-1, I think. 2-1, and our first. I think we concede first. Yeah. Then maybe we score first, then they equalize, and we score late on in the last 10 minutes to win it. I think the first goal for Moss, let's say Pirot. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna go for Somerville, just because he's flying. Joe, gives your score prediction, pal.
I think 3-1. I think we do concede because of that potential left defense pairing of Firpo and Cooper. I think there's weaknesses down that side. And I think it'll be similar. I think it'll be a 2-0 Leeds. Then they'll score, gets a bit more interest, and then Leeds will pick them off at the end with a winner and make it 3. I hope. I would like to think we're in good enough form in there and poor enough form and a bit all over the place that we can pick it up. That manager has if that coach does want that job on a permanent basis, then he's got a lot of pressure on him in terms of this is an audition for the job. So
he's actually. I did the White Rose Rivals earlier, and Matt said in the press conference, "I want the job," because I asked him like, do you expect changes? And he went, well, he's going to have to, like you've said, Joe. If he says he wants the job, then we're going to have to see something different from him. Otherwise, he's not going to get a fucking job, is he? Correct. So he's going to have to do something. Let's hope he tries something drastic. Yeah, they do. They do have some injuries as well. So, yeah, I think we'll be all right against them, but I just think it'll be tight. Lloyd, what's your score prediction, pal?
I think it's going to be a nervous 2-0, and so I think we'll be winning 1-0. Then I think we'll kill it off late on. I mean, like you said, they drew with Ipswich, they drew with Preston. I think did they nick a point away to Southampton as well? So even though they're down there, they're no mugs. But yeah, I think we'll get the job done. But yeah, a nervous 2-0.
Yeah.
Tight, yeah.
But I think the main thing for me is, we win this game, the gap's then cut to 5, and Ipswich have got to go to West Brom.
Yeah.
And West Brom are doing well at the minute under Corberan, and I think that'll be a tough game for them, and they could drop points away.
Also, Leicester have got Watford on the back of 2 defeats, and Watford have won 3 in their last 5. They're unbeaten in the last 5 matches, and they're coming off 2 wins, 2 draws, and then another win.
They did beat Rotherham 5 or 4-0, I think it was.
And if there is a bit of blood in the water with Leicester, and people are starting to smell a bit of fear, or teams are looking going, now we know how to break down Leicester.
Let's have a go.
Let them come at you, and then pick them off on a break. I think it'd be interesting to see how Leicester react after having 2 weeks to sit on 2 back-to-back defeats.
Yes,
6
we have
to put the pressure on them.
Are they 6 unbeaten, Watford?
Yeah.
6 unbeaten. There you go.
Yeah,
there's form there. They might be mid-table, but they're picking up points, and they've got a plus goal difference as well in amongst teams that don't have a plus goal difference. But we have to make sure the pressure's on them going into those games. We can't lose and got points in this game. Otherwise, they can afford to slip up. Yeah. And also, Southampton are right behind us.
Oh, big time. And they've got Huddersfield.
Up, but we're not looking behind us either. They're right there. They're right on our lip.
They've got Huddersfield.
League.
Mad thing is as well, Cossie on the White Rose Rivals said he listened to the Huddersfield pre-match, and Russell Martin's saying, we're chasing down the top 2. We will get top 2.
Huddersfield?
No, Russell Martin at Southampton. He's actually been out and being bullish and saying we're going to get the top 2. So
he has to be though. They're the same boat as us.
They have a squad.
They've retained money, they've retained players, they've kept the wages, they want players to be able to, they have to get back up as much as we do. So he has to say those things. He can't just say, "But we'll hope for the playoffs and fingers crossed." He needs to be in those top 2 positions as much as there's realistically just 3 teams that need to go up automatically, and that's Leicester, Southampton, and Leeds. Ipswich being there, they don't need to go up, but the other 3 do, or else they've got a tougher year next year.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I like to finish the show with the idiocy of the evening. You know, it's good that because he's injured, Firpo or Byron won't have to face Cafu from Rotherham. You know, I remember him with Brazil. You know, when he won the World Cup.
That Cafu, yeah.
With Roque Jr., great defender for Leeds.
Somebody said Adrian was the worst Brazilian Leeds ever had, and I went, "Oh, I remember Roque Jr. very well."
Yeah.
And they have also Lucas, Humphries, Black, and Andrew Green.
Lucas is a good player.
They have a lot of injuries.
I think he's injured though. Lucas is out, isn't he?
Lucas is out.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah,
I like him.
Yeah. Right, folks. Well, I think we will. I think we will leave it there. It's been. It's been a nice show. Good show. It's great to have Lloyd back. Thanks for coming on as well, Jern. Of course, Andrea. I'll be live tomorrow from about 7 o'clock because obviously we play tomorrow night against Rotherham at New York Stadium, so there will be a watch along going on. So make sure you join me for that. Football's back, and then we play Wednesday against Swansea. You know what I mean? It's a quick turnaround, and then before you know it, it's December, and we've got 7 games in December. 7. So it's going to be a busy period. So I'm excited for it. I'm going to be tired, but we're excited, man. That's what it's about. January soon come as well, and we'll all be just like that. Match
This league shows its colours at the end of December.
I've made the prediction
for a lot of clubs,
and I keep saying it. By January the 1st, Leeds United will be in the top 2. By January the 1st, and that's 9 games. We will be in that top 2. And I'll go as far as to say the league's not done yet. The league isn't done yet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's fucking win the title and the FA Cup.
We're looking at. There's a lot of clubs that are looking at Ipswich's players. There's a lot of clubs that are looking at Leicester's players in the Premier League as well. So there is interest in their players as well as there is interest in a few of their players.
African Cup of Nations.
Yeah. 4 players from Leicester are gone. Leicester have what? Ipswich 2 or 3 as well.
Yeah, you have said it. Yeah, right. We'll leave it there. Folks, smash a like on the video. Make sure you check everyone else's channel out, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a nice evening. Peace now. Bye-bye.
Bye.